Hello, my name is Corwin, and today I'm going to be educating you on caffeine. Most people consume caffeine on a regular basis, and if you're anything like me, if you are in college or if you work every day, you may find yourself needing an extra cup of coffee midway through the day after your first dose, in the morning. You may ask why this is, and I'll be happy to tell you. By the end of this presentation, you'll fully understand why. Not only will I explain the looks, the structure, and the behavior of caffeine, I'll also discuss the positive and negative effects it has on the body, and along the way we'll go ahead and debunk some common misconceptions about caffeine. Caffeine is a very useful substance, but if it's overused, it can have adverse effects. Naturally, it's found in nuts, seeds, and leaves that have originated in East Asia and South America. The chemical formula for caffeine is C8H10N4O2. And looking at this molecule here, we can see that it has 8 carbons, and a chemist would call this molecule 137-trimethyl-2,6-dione. That's because in places 1, 3, and 7, there are methyl groups attached, and in places 2 and places 6, there are oxygens attached. Now, this structure is very similar to that of adenosine, which, if you can see in the upper corner attached, those two molecules look pretty much the same. This similarity in structure causes caffeine to actually bind to adenosine receptors. Now, adenosine, show it again, is responsible for decreasing your heart rate, slowing down your central nervous system, and dilating your blood vessels. This is what makes you feel sleepy and get sleepy when you're tired. Now, caffeine, I'll show it again, can easily fit right into that receptor and block adenosine from getting in there. Now, caffeine, when it gets in there, does not have the same effects. It actually doesn't do anything. It just sits there, taking up the space so that adenosine can't bind. So it's just a placeholder, and that might have been a wonder of some people out there. Caffeine itself does not give you energy. It just prevents your body from making itself tired. Another misconception about caffeine is that it's not a drug. Caffeine is not an illegal drug, but it most certainly is a drug, and it's classified as a stimulant. During a study that was done by Laura Giuliano, people were given 100 milligrams of caffeine and then told to abstain from any more intake of caffeine for the next 48 hours. During that time, people who participated in this study reported headaches and flu-like symptoms that are associated with withdrawals. And another interesting find with this study is after 15 or 20 minutes of consuming coffee again, or caffeine again, for the first time in 2 days, all of those withdrawal symptoms have disappeared. These two trends are heavily associated with drug use and dependency. So it's a wonder why they aren't regulated by the FDA still. They're not regulated because they're not really likely to be abused, but they have adverse effects and can produce withdrawal symptoms, so there are limits put in place that are highly recommended. For people like you and me, it's 200 milligrams a day. That's like 1 or 2 cups of coffee. For a pregnant woman, it's half that. And the reason for that is to avoid adverse effects on the baby. Their bodies can't metabolize the caffeine as quickly. And again, the caffeine in place of the adenosine causes the adenosine to negatively impact the baby. Adenosine, again, for the baby will regulate blood flow, and if it can't regulate blood flow, then it inhibits the heart function, and that's what produces a smaller baby. According to John Wayne Ray, a study was done on women who did normally intake more than 150 milligrams a day of caffeine, and for every additional 100 milligrams they took over that, they saw a 21 to 28 gram decrease in the birth weight of their child. So very negative effects on babies with caffeine. Looking at an athletic experiment, studies show that caffeine had a positive impact on muscle strength and power 48 to 72 hours after exercise. But it did not have a positive effect on sprinting performance. It had no effect on sprinting performance before or after the consumption of caffeine. There was no change at all. This is also debunking another misconception about caffeine, where a lot of people may assume that if you guzzle a bunch of caffeinated drinks that you can run really fast and you have a jolt of energy. That's not true. So, by now we all know how caffeine works in the body, and so if you take nothing else away from this, please know that caffeine will not sober you up if you are intoxicated. That is not how the mechanism works. They're two different systems. So that was another and my final misconception I'm debunking. In closing, caffeine has health benefits for older patients with Parkinson's and dementia, and it has negative effects on babies. The safe range for an adult would be 200 milligrams, and it's recommended you don't exceed that. Thank you.